The University of Otago's Genetics Centre pulls together researchers in a discipline that stretches across the institution. One of its roles is to increase public awareness of genetics research, and an event this month is set to do just that. Associate Professor Peter Dearden is here with a background. Good evening, Peter.
Hi there.
Now, tell us a little bit about Genetics Otago. How did it start and what does it do?
So we started about 4 years ago. We discovered that we have an enormous breadth of talent in genetics here at Otago, probably one of the centres, best centres in the Southern Hemisphere. But everyone's scattered across a bunch of different departments, and so Genetics Otago brings those people together to kind of showcase what they do.
Why does the study of genetics need a centre like this, do you think?
Well, genetics as a discipline is really important to people. It's about where they come from and who they are. It's about their environment and the food that they eat. It's about new technologies, and a lot of these things are a bit frightening for people. And we want to show that geneticists are real human beings and that the science is interesting and important, and try and make sure that people are informed about it so they can make their own decisions.
Do you think that there are misconceptions around the discipline?
Yeah, huge ones. Genetics is often seen as evil. It's portrayed in films that way. It's, we've had a GM debate, which has meant that people have been very worried about genetic modification. And despite that, it's a really vital science. If you think about all of our agricultural economy, it's all based on genetics, which was done in the past to make better cattle and better sheep and better plants. And you think about medical breakthroughs that are coming through from overseas all the time, a lot of those are based on genetics. So it's important that people understand a little bit about it, or at least know where there are some geneticists they can ask questions of.
Now, the 7 Faces of Genetics happens later this month. Tell us a bit about that.
So we have a week of genetics-related events we're very excited about. We've got 2 very important overseas speakers coming who are going to talk about genetics and disease and ethics, genetics and law. So we have a number of lectures from the 23rd to the 29th of September. Most of them are at the Settlers Museum. So we've got on the Tuesday night of that week, we've got people talking about genetics and medicine. We've got people on the Thursday night talking about the environment and evolution. And on Friday night, we've got a smorgasbord of all the sort of genetics research that's going on at the university. And on the Sunday, bring your kids along to the museum, the Otago Museum. We're going to be extracting DNA from bananas, and you can come and see all the cool things that actually, younger people can get involved with. So we've got a really exciting bunch of things happening, and lots of overseas people coming to show us what they do. And
you'll be speaking at the event as well. What's your subject?
So I generally work with honeybees. I'm interested in the genetics of honeybees and how genetics can help us better look after our honeybees because they're under threat, but also what honeybees can teach us about our own health and our own development, because there are lots of things that honeybees do that tell us a little bit about the way that we work ourselves and how we react to the environment. So, yeah, mainly bees. It's kind of exciting stuff.
Bees aside, what are some of the other exciting research that's being done at the moment?
Well, I mean, obviously the bee work is the best. I mean, we got to. I think there's a huge breadth of research. We have some really interesting research on the origins of New Zealand people and how they crossed the Pacific to come to New Zealand. We have research on disease, particularly cancer, and on gout, diseases which affect New Zealand populations a lot. We have a lot of research, in fact, a huge cluster of people working on the evolution and the ecology of New Zealand species and where they come from and how they live, and really quite interesting work which tells us something about the history of New Zealand. And finally, we have a great group of people who are interested in the impact of genetics on law and ethics and what that means for the general public. So, we have an enormous breadth of genetics, and it's going to be an exciting week to tell everybody about what we do.
What are some of the practical outcomes of some of that research?
Well, genetics is an intensely practical subject. If you want to know about your family history, you're talking about genetics. If you want to know about your disease risk, your future, the changes that will happen during your lifetime, that's about genetics. And if you want to know about the future and how we're going to evolve, how we're going to change, and how new technologies are going to affect society, then that's genetics as well. I mean, we have people who are interested in agriculture and trying to help agricultural productivity and maintain it and improve it. We have a lot of people working in human health and trying to find new drugs and new ways to attack cancer or other diseases. We have people looking at the more fundamental research on how embryos are built, how you make an adult organism from a tiny fertilized egg. So there's a lot of very cool research going on there. We're also very interested in the impact of that research, how the new technologies and the new ideas we're exploring will actually affect society and the people of Dunedin and the world. So there's a huge breadth there.
Associate Professor Peter Dearden, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.